All right, let's talk about one of the most chilling, most infamous cold cases in American history. We're diving into the story of a serial killer who was never caught, a ghost who terrorized Northern California and just disappeared, leaving behind nothing but fear and a ton of unanswered questions. It all started with those four words. This is the Zodiac speaking. Can you imagine hearing that? Right away, you knew this wasn't just some random murderer. This was a performer, someone who craved the spotlight. He introduced himself to everyone, the cops, the media, a terrified public, and in doing so, he completely changed the rules of the game. And that's really what makes this case so haunting, isn't it? The Zodiac didn't just kill people. He played this sick, twisted game with law enforcement, sending these super complex, coded messages and letters that just mocked them. And the craziest part? He got away with it. Completely. He didn't just commit crimes. He created a brand. He gave himself a name, a symbol, and this whole dark persona that would become the stuff of legend in true crime history. So let's go back to the beginning of this whole mystery. The Zodiac's reign of terror was really concentrated in this brutal 10-month period, basically from late 1968 to late 1969. Now, he claimed he killed a lot more people, but these are the attacks that police can say for sure this was him. You have to look at the escalation here. It's just terrifying. First, he attacks two teenagers on a remote lover's lane. Then, get this, a brazen shooting on the 4th of July, and he's the one who calls the police to confess? After that, a daylight stabbing while wearing this bizarre hooded executioner's costume. And finally, a murder right in the middle of San Francisco where he actually takes a piece of the victim's bloody shirt as proof. This wasn't random, you know? This was a calculated campaign of terror, getting bolder every single time. But as horrifying as the actual murders were, that was really only half of it. The Zodiac's main weapon was fear, and he used the U.S. mail to wage a psychological war on the entire San Francisco Bay Area. Yeah, over his spree, and for years after, the Zodiac mailed more than 20 letters and cards to newspapers and police departments. He demanded they print them on the front page and threatened more attacks if they didn't. He was literally writing his own dark legend in real time. I like killing people because it is so much fun. This is the first real look we get inside his head. And this message, it came from his very first coded message, the 408 symbol cipher. And you want to know who cracked it? Not the FBI, not some elite code-breaking unit. It was a high school teacher and his wife. They solved it in just a week back in 1969. Incredible. But that first cipher was the easy one. His others were way more complex. The most famous one, called the Z340, went on to stump the world's best cryptographers for over half a century. It became like a holy grail for codebreakers everywhere, both professional and amateur. And here's the thing that's just maddening about this whole case. After 51 years, 51, a team of codebreakers from around the world finally cracks the Z340. Everyone thinks, this is it. We're finally going to get a name. And what's inside? Nothing. No name, no confession, not a single clue. Just more of his rambling, taunting garbage. Even the biggest breakthrough in half a century turned out to be another dead end. So if the letters weren't going to give up his identity, the investigation had to go back to basics. It became a traditional manhunt, one that's now stretched on for decades and pointed at countless different suspects. You know, over the years, police have looked at literally thousands of suspects, but two names always seem to bubble to the surface. The big one for a long time was Arthur Lee Allen. I mean, the circumstantial evidence was pretty compelling. He looked like the descriptions, he owned a watch with the Zodiac brand name and symbol on it, he even lived near the first crime scene. But, and this is a big but, his DNA and handwriting just didn't match. Then, much more recently, in 2021, a private cold case group pointed the finger at a guy named Gary Francis Post, saying his scars matched the police sketch. The thing is, neither the FBI nor the San Francisco police have ever confirmed this. So we're left with two major suspects and zero solid proof. So after all the terror, all the letters, all the suspects, where are we? Well, we're left with the deeply unsatisfying and unsettling truth that this case is still completely, totally open. 5. That's the official number. That's how many victims law enforcement can say without a doubt were killed by the Zodiac. 5 people whose lives were stolen and whose families never got justice. But this is the number the Zodiac claimed for himself. In his letters, he boasted that his real body count was way higher, 37 victims. And that leaves us with a really chilling question, right? Was he just bragging, lying to build up his own dark legend? Or, and this is the really scary thought, are there dozens of other unsolved murders out there that actually belong to the Zodiac? We just don't know. And that's really the bottom line here. Despite all the decades of work, all the theories, all the amateur detectives, law enforcement has never closed the book on the Zodiac. In the files of the San Francisco Police Department, this is still very much an active case. So who was he? A paranoid loner hiding in plain sight? Some kind of evil genius who outsmarted everyone? Or was he just lucky? That's the question that's been haunting investigators and all of us for over half a century. We're still searching for a name, a face to put to the horror, a secret that, for now, is still lost to time.